You were not alone today, not even for a second. Think about that moment this morning when you woke up and the weight of everything hit you before you even opened your eyes. That quiet dread, that heaviness sitting on your chest like a stone. You thought no one saw that. You were wrong. There is a reason you clicked on this video. Not coincidence, not algorithm. Something deeper pulled you here. Something ancient. Something that has been watching over you for longer than you can remember. You are not like everyone else. You never were. There is a version of you that the world has never seen yet, a version that has been waiting, quietly, behind all the pain, behind all the doubt, behind all the times you almost gave up. God was in the room with you today. When you were sitting in silence, wondering if any of this matters, He was there. When you were driving and that song came on and you suddenly felt your eyes burn, He was there. When you almost broke down but somehow held it together, He was there. This is not a motivational video. This is a message delivered specifically, deliberately to you, because you are a chosen one, and today something is shifting inside you that cannot be undone. By the end of this, you will never see yourself the same way again. Stay with me. If this message found you at the right moment, type "chosen" in the comments right now. Let's see who God sent here today. Part 1. The moment heaven leaned in. There are ordinary days, and then there are days when the invisible becomes visible. Today was one of those days. You just didn't know it yet. Think back. Was there a moment, even small, even fleeting, where something felt different? A thought that didn't feel like yours, a warmth you couldn't explain, a sense that something was watching over you, guiding you, steering you away from something you never even saw coming. That was not your imagination. That was intervention. See, most people walk through their entire lives without ever understanding this. Heaven is not distant. Heaven is not a location you earn after death. Heaven is a presence that moves through time, through rooms, through ordinary Tuesday mornings when you're making coffee and quietly falling apart on the inside. God does not wait for church on Sunday. God shows up on Monday, in traffic, in silence, in the exact moment you needed something, and somehow it appeared. You've experienced this. Don't deny it. The phone call that came at the exact right time, the person who said the exact words you needed to hear as if they'd been briefed, the door that closed so violently you thought it was destruction, but it was protection. That was not luck. Luck is random. What's been happening in your life is not random. It is orchestrated. There is a word for someone whose life is orchestrated by something greater than themselves. That word is chosen. Not chosen because you're perfect, not chosen because you never fall. You are chosen because something in you keeps rising. Something in you refuses to stay down. Something in you, even on the darkest nights, still believes that morning is coming. Heaven leans in for people like that. Today, heaven leaned in for you. You walked through a room and you felt it, that strange electricity in the air, that sense that the moment was larger than it appeared. Most people miss it. They're too busy, too distracted, too numb. But you felt it. That's how you know this message was made for you. And what you discover next will explain everything. Part 4. What God has been preparing you for. This is the part no one is ready to hear. Everything you went through, the losses, the betrayals, the seasons of invisibility, the years when nothing seemed to move, the relationships that burned to ash, the dreams that seemed to die, none of it was wasted. Not a single tear, not a single night, not a single prayer that felt like it bounced off the ceiling and fell back to the floor. All of it was curriculum. You were being taught things that cannot be taught in comfort. Resilience is not built in ease. Empathy is not developed without pain. Wisdom does not come to people who have never been lost. You were being prepared for a purpose so specific, so powerful, so aligned with the gifts that were woven into you before you were born, that when it arrives, when it finally fully arrives, you will look back at everything you survived and say, "Oh, that's why. That's why I had to go through that. That's why that door closed. That's why that person left. That's why I was stripped down to nothing, because nothing was exactly what I needed to become everything I was meant to be." God doesn't waste chosen ones. He sharpens them. And right now, in this season, you are sharper than you have ever been, more ready than you feel, more equipped than your fear admits. The very things that made you feel disqualified, the scars, the history, the complicated story, those are not obstacles to your purpose. They are your credentials. The person you are going to help, they don't need someone perfect. They need someone real. Someone who has been through it, someone who can look them in the eyes when they are drowning and say, "I know this water, I've been here, and I made it out." That is you. That is your assignment. God was in the room with you today because the room is becoming a launch pad. The waiting is becoming ascending. The preparation is becoming a release. You are ready, even if you don't feel it yet. Let me leave you with this. You woke up today. That alone is not ordinary. That is grace. That is heaven saying, "Not yet, not finished, more to come." You found this video. That is not coincidence. Something in you was hungry for this exact reminder. Something in you needed to hear from something outside yourself that you are seen, that you are known, that you are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. God was in the room with you today. He watched you carry things no one knows you're carrying. He saw the moment you almost broke. He counted every night you cried yourself to sleep, asking why. And He is saying, now, through this moment, through these words, "I know, I see, I'm here, and I'm not done with you." The chosen ones don't have easy lives. They have meaningful ones, lives that echo, lives that matter, lives that become lanterns for other people stumbling through their own darkness. Your life is becoming a lantern. Let it burn. Walk out of whatever tomb has been holding you. Step back into the light. Carry your scars like the badges they are. Because something great is coming, something you cannot yet imagine, something God has been building quietly, secretly, faithfully in every broken season you survived. Your story is not over, it is just beginning, and the best chapter is the one you're about to write. Type "chosen" if this reached your soul today. Share this with someone who needs to hear it.
Part 2. The signs you dismissed as coincidence. You've been ignoring the signs, not out of arrogance, out of fear. Because deep down, if the signs are real, then you were called. And if you are called, then you have no more excuses. Let's talk about the signs. The recurring thought that won't leave you alone, the dream you had months ago that still sits somewhere in your chest like an unanswered question, the feeling that you are supposed to be doing something more, something bigger, something that scares you precisely because it feels too real. That is not ambition. That is assignment. There's a difference between what you want and what you were made for. What you want can be bought, chased, achieved, and abandoned. What you were made for follows you. It finds you in quiet moments. It shows up in the things that make you cry when no one is watching. And you've been calling it a coincidence. You found that book at the exact moment you needed it. Coincidence. That stranger said something that cut straight to your soul. Coincidence. You survived something that should have broken you. Coincidence? No, no more. Every sign was a sentence. Every so-called coincidence was a paragraph. And together, they have been spelling out a message for years now. You are not here by accident. You are here on purpose. God was writing your story long before you were born, and what looks like chaos from inside the chapter looks like a masterpiece from outside the book. You are in the middle of a chapter right now, a hard one, a confusing one, a chapter where you cannot see the ending and everything feels unresolved. But the author sees it. The author has always seen it, and today, God was in the room with you, not to watch you suffer, but to whisper into the chaos, I know what I'm doing with you. Trust me. Hold on. Your part is coming. You almost gave up. You didn't. That was not weakness. That was prophecy fulfilling itself inside your bones. What comes next will bring you to tears. Part 3. Why the chosen ones always suffer first. Nobody told you this part. Everyone talks about the blessing. No one talks about the breaking. But the breaking is not punishment. The breaking is preparation. And if you have been through something that nearly destroyed you, then listen to me carefully. You were not being abandoned. You were being built. Look at every person who ever changed the world, every person who ever carried a light so bright it blinded the darkness around them, every person whose life became a testimony that made others believe in something greater than themselves. They all had a tomb moment, a moment of complete darkness, complete silence, complete stillness, where everything they believed in seemed dead, where every prayer felt unanswered, where hope itself felt like a cruel joke. And then resurrection. You are in your tomb moment, or you are just walking out of it, and that is why God was in the room with you today, not to comfort you with easy words, but to stand with you in the darkness and say, this is not your ending, this is your transformation. The chosen ones always suffer first, not because God is cruel, because suffering strips away everything false. It removes the performance. It removes the mask. It removes every version of you that was built to impress people. And what remains, what survives, what rises from the ashes, that is the real you. That is the you that heaven chose. The pain was not the story. The pain was the process. And you who are still here, still breathing, still fighting, even when every part of you wanted to stop, you passed a test that most people never even knew they were taking. The world is full of people who gave up in their tomb moment, who walked away one day before their breakthrough, who let the silence convince them that God had forgotten them. You are not one of those people. You are still here, and your tomb is empty now. Walk out. Because what God has planned for the next chapter of your life will silence every doubt you ever had.